Larry King now, Kevin Nealon dishing on behind the scenes of SNL's 40th anniversary special.
It is a people-watching night. Yeah, I saw everyone from, Prince was there, Rihanna, Paul McCartney, Trump. I called him Trump. I didn't call him Mr. Trump. I said Trump. Hey, Trump.
Training a new generation of comedians.
And it's fun to see the different comedians. We've had everyone from Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, Adam Sandler, David Spade, Dana Carvey. A lot of comics, great comics on, to see who's more immature, the kids or the comics,
And why the funny man is taking on a serious issue.
And I'm running around, I'm jet skiing, I'm swimming, I'm playing golf, I'm running on the beach. And I get out of the pool one day, and I'm going back to my chaise lounge, and my heart starts going like really fast. Like a machine gun,
Plus,
let me tell you something, Mr. King. You took those suspenders off, you caused a flabberlanche.
all next on Larry King Now. You know him from his days on Saturday Night Live and on Showtime's award-winning series Weeds. He's also penned a comedic memoir, and he's touring the country doing stand-up. He's Kevin Nealon, and as part of American Heart Month, he's working to raise awareness of a health issue close to his own heart. On top of all that, he has a new show, AOL's Laugh Lessons with Kevin Nealon, and he was part of SNL's recent 40th anniversary special. What was that like?
First of all, may I say that you do
You may do anything you want.
do you so well. I mean, it is like seamless. It's if I close my eyes, I would say that's Larry King.
So you really feel in my presence.
I do. The
It's
voice
hard to
I've
do
heard
that.
for
It's hard to
many
do
years.
me.
It is hard to do you.
It's hard for me to do me.
I'm sure.
How was the
SNL 40th was great. It was epic. It was fascinating on so many different levels. Having been part of that group, to go back to that studio and to see all these faces and all this talent that you kind of grew up with in a way. And to be sitting like right next to Diane Sawyer, and then Candice Bergen right next to her, and behind me Sarah Silverman, Louis C.K., Adam Sandberg next to me, and there's Paul McCartney.
Was there a week of rehearsal? I mean, how did?
No, as far as for me, there was really no rehearsal.
What did they ask you to do?
Well, initially they asked me just to come. And, for a week or two, we were kind of saying, is there a show? Or are they just doing, is it going to clip show? Or, and then you kind of leaks out that, no, they're doing like a Jeopardy thing with somebody, and somebody's doing this, and McCartney's going to play it. And then the day before the show, they said, are you going to be in town that morning? Because we're going to do a little weekend update piece with you and Norm and Seth and Colin. And so I said, yeah, I'll be coming back from Vermont from a gig on the train. In a blizzard.
Oh, wow, yeah, I know how cold it was.
So I went up to the studio about 2 o'clock, and they were rehearsing other stuff, and then they finally got to our thing, and, I read it. It was like, a couple lines, and we did it. And then, as typical of that show, it changes right up to the minute you do it. I said, can I rewrite this a little bit? They said, sure, do whatever you want. So I rewrote it and showed it to them right before I went on. They said, yeah, it's good.
You go to the after party?
Did go to the after party. Typically the after parties on SNL, they're not really much of a party, at least when I was there. It's, everybody goes to a restaurant afterwards, and you sit at your own table with the guests that you came with. I never would have gone to those parties, after the first year, had it not been from the guests that have come to the show. You know what it's like. You want to entertain them and stuff, and they want to go to the after party, and so you go with them. You'd much rather be home sleeping. And so you're sitting at your table, and they're gawking, and they're looking at people, and at the end of the night, you pay the check, for your table, and you go home, and then you sleep through Sunday.
But this party?
The party at this place was at the Plaza Hotel, and it was just incredible. It was everybody, people I didn't even see at the show were there.
I was with Martin Short a couple of days after I saw his It's Only a Play. Great show.
Yeah, did you?
And he said he had a fantastic time.
Yeah, he was great in that. He was great. But it is a people-watching night. I saw everyone from, Prince was there, Rihanna, Paul McCartney, Trump. I called him Trump. I didn't call him Mr. Trump. I said Trump. Hey, Trump. He saw me. He didn't seem mad.
Do you think the show is as funny as it once was? Honestly.
Well, you're getting into the whole area of comedy, and it's very subjective. I could have a 20-year-old watch the year I was on and say that wasn't funny. but he could watch, what's on now and say this is really funny.
So, yeah, it relates to the times.
Yeah.
All right, Hans and Franz are back on TV. You did the commercial with Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers.
let me tell you something, Mr. King. You took those suspenders off, you caused a flabberlanche. Yeah, we did it with Aaron Rodgers. This was, it was fun to kind of bring these guys back out again. Dana Carvey and I came up with these characters way back then, and we hadn't done them since. And then State Farm had an idea for a commercial to kind of bring out all these classic characters again, and those were two of them. And
is he fun to work with, Aaron?
He was. He was very sweet, very nice, kind of quiet and reserved. I think I could take him. I do think I could take him. But here's a guy who's, you think of a professional quarterback, you think of an adult, somebody that's older than you, because you grow up watching these quarterbacks, and it's even like golfers. You can't tell how old they are on the golf course.
That's right.
And
he's 30 years younger than you.
He's 30 years younger, so he was watching Hans and Franz probably when he was in grammar school or high school, and now here he is on the show and on the commercial, and he's really like a kid to me, I guess. And I do think I could take him.
All right, tell me about the laugh lessons with Kevin Nealon. How does it work? You can't teach comedy, I thought.
Well, that's what we're trying to find out. So 4 years ago, Gary Shandling comes over to my house. A friend of mine, very funny comic, a legend. And my son is 4 at the time, and Gary's teaching him a pratfall. He says, Gable, I'm going to hit you in the back of the head with a pillow, softly, but pretend I hit you hard and fall, like I hit you really hard, and that's a pratfall. And I thought that'd be a great idea for a show, to have a different comic legend on each week, teaching maybe a couple of 6-year-olds the art of comedy. And let's find out if kids are born funny, if they could be taught to be funny, and how they could use comedy to help them throughout their life. So each week we have a different comic. So I teamed up with Ellen DeGeneres, and we made a deal with AOL, and it's on AOL now.
How's it doing?
It's doing great. Yeah, they really like it a lot.
Do some kids pick it up well?
Some kids can't be taught comedy, but it's fun to see the different comedians. We've had everyone from Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, Adam Sandler, David Spade, Dana Carvey, a lot of comics, great comics on, to see who's more immature, the kids or the comics, And
is there an audience?
No. But, it makes me respect some of these other shows that used to work with kids. Kids Say the Darndest Thing, or the one with, was it Art Linkletter?
That was Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Oh, it was? Okay. But I don't know where they found these kids, because some of those kids were just so unique and funny. And, we get a lot of kids that they're good, but they're not like...
What's the average age of the kid?
27. No, the kids are six. We were trying to find the right age.
That's young.
We started young, like 4 or 5, and they, I was a little too young. Then we went higher. And
My youngest kid is 14. He's a natural comic.
Is he?
He's going to be a comic.
You didn't teach him anything.
Nothing.
He got nothing from you.
He's funny. He may watch me do things, but he's funny.
What's a funny thing he's done?
He imitates me better than you. He imitates me. More with Kevin Nealon coming up, including one issue close to his heart. We won't fool around with that. Don't go away. We're back with Kevin Nealon. Don't forget Laugh Lessons with Kevin Nealon on AOL. And it's good to have you with us. And he's doing stand-up all over. It's great.
I love stand-up. Yeah, I'm still doing
I love your comedy. Now tell me about this heart thing. The American Heart Month to raise awareness about atrial fibrillation, or AFib.
AFib.
What is that?
AFib is an irregular heartbeat that could lead to a stroke from a blood clot if you don't keep an eye on it or take care of it or see a doctor. So about 13 years ago, I go to Mexico with my then girlfriend, now wife. She's about 18 years younger than me. You wouldn't know anything about that.
Yes, I would.
Oh, you would. And I'm trying to impress upon her how active I am and fit. And it's humid, it's hot down there. And I'm running around, I'm jet skiing, I'm swimming, I'm playing golf, I'm running on the beach. And I get out of the pool one day and I'm going back to my chaise lounge and my heart starts going like really fast, like a machine gun, And then I go to the hotel doctor and he goes, "Did this ever happen to you before?" I said, "No." He goes, "You should go lay down in a cool place for a while." And it became a regular after that. So I went to long story short, I went to a Mexican hospital, which is always my dream. And they tried to cardio convert it, with the shock paddles.
Really?
Yeah, because when I went in there at first, I said, "You guys gonna use the shock paddles and you'll stand back, everybody?" And he smiled, but later he goes, you were joking about the shock paddles, but 90% of the times that works. So they tried that, it didn't work. So he goes, when you go back to LA, you should have your doctor, check it out. So yeah, it was. I found out that
I know people. How do they treat it? Is it medication?
Well, this is what I learned about. I didn't know anything about it before. I did learn that it was not life-threatening unless you let it go for a long time, and then it can develop into a blood clot, leading to a stroke. So I went to see my doctor. He put me on a blood thinner, and it's called warfarin at the time. Yeah. And anyway, this had a lot of dietary restrictions, and you had to have your blood monitored. And I was traveling a lot, doing a lot of stand-up comedy, so it didn't really fit into my schedule. So he put me on a different medication, which didn't have all those restrictions.
Plavix?
Pardon me?
Plavix?
No.
Does it work?
It does work. Yeah, it did work. And but I think people should go see a doctor, to see what's right for them, because this was right for me.
Great way to find out, though, in Mexico.
It is. And now I've teamed up with Janssen, and we're raising awareness, and there's a website, driveforclots.com, that people can go to find out more about my story and other people's stories. And I'm actually teaming up with Arnold Palmer on this too.
Does he had that?
He's had other,
Because I had a heart attack, I had quintuple bypass surgery. I know what it's like.
It's a great way to find out about this.
So you go to Drive for Clots. That's one word. For the number four.
Yeah, for the
driveforclots.com.
Yeah, you can find out about my experience, and then for every viewing, Janssen will contribute they'll make a contribution to Mended Hearts, which is an organization that helps raise awareness and makes a big difference for the millions of people that are at risk for blood clots.
Did you retire, Kevin? Did you ever?
No.
No, you never.
I never will. I'm like you. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, I know. Now, you have young kids. I have young kids at an older age. Well, I'm older than you,
And we don't know how many we have.
What do you mean?
Between the two of us. Because,
I know how many I have.
You do? You know for sure.
Well.
I could honestly say, you know what? I know I actually have one child. I could go back and count on my fingers, knowing that there was no...
You were never with a woman in your life where you did not use protection, that you never saw again, that might have become pregnant and never contacted you.
Maybe I have 2 children. No, I think I've always been, I've been pretty sure. Yeah. But I'm worried about.
How do you like fatherhood?
I love it. It's great.
Nothing like it.
Oh, and the kids, they get so clever when they get older. My wife said to my son the other day, she said, Gable, his name's Gable, like Clark Gable. I said, Gable, did you like your dinner? And he said, to be honest with you, it wasn't very good. But you know what? You feed me emotionally. Where did they come up with that?
How old is he?
He's 8.
Why Gable?
Well, we were looking for a name that wasn't too common, but not too out there. We didn't want to have like an Apple name, or not that that's a crazy name, but and then we were looking at everything like menus and street signs. What's kind of unique, And then I was thinking, I think I was at a Kinko's one day and I saw a poster of Clark Gable, and I called my wife. I says, "What do you think about Gable?" She goes, "I love it. It's like a classic, tough name."
G-A-B-L-E.
G-A-B-L-E, and it's also. Yeah, it's a name I haven't heard around that much.
Well, my kids are Cannon.
Cannon? It's strong. It's like a weapon.
And Chance.
Chance
King.
Good. Chance King. Sounds like, is that the baseball player?
They're both baseball players, but Chance King is the one down at baseball school.
That's going to be a good.
Okay. Batting third.
What number?
He wears 7. He'll be there.
Yeah. Derek Jeter was at the SNL 40th.
He was?
My son got to meet him. He didn't know who he was. I said, this is a famous baseball player.
Was his girlfriend there?
No.
More with the hilarious Kevin Nealon. Stay with us. This show is now in its 3rd year, and one of our first guests was you, Kevin Nealon,
right?
back those 3 years ago.
That's right.
And when he was here, we played a clip of him impersonating me. We're going to repeat it for you now. What don't we know about you? What's misunderstood about you?
The fact that people think that I am over 50. I'm actually 43 years old. I live a wild life. What do you make of that?
I'm very surprised at it, because I thought you were a little older than 50. Because you have young children, so maybe you can get away with it.
Well, we don't know how many children I have, Larry. There could be thousands out there.
Oh, my God.
Of course, every guest I have on my show, I have a little thing with it.
If you
I'm kidding you. Me. I'm kidding me.
Yeah.
Was it fun doing me on the show?
It was. I'm not an impressionist, as you could see, but I enjoyed doing you, and people seemed to like it. You were beloved.
Am I easy to impersonate? I guess I am.
Yeah, well, because you have physical traits, you know.
Yeah. Is your wife in the business?
She is, yes.
Comedian?
Yeah, she's a comedic actress. She's recurring on Parks and Rec.
Oh, really? She's a regular?
Yeah.
It's a great show.
It is a good show, yeah. Well, she's recurring, so she's not a regular. She's a recurring. So she's irregular.
Oh.
Much like us.
There's a drug for that. That's right. All right, let's some other things. What do you think of Jon Stewart stepping down?
I can't decide who to replace, Jon Stewart or Brian Williams. That's my big dilemma these days. Well,
go to Iraq.
I think he's great at what he does, and I'm always fascinated when people step down at their peak, or what I think is their peak. You know, Seinfeld did it, Jon Stewart, you. But I applaud him for doing what he wants to do. He obviously has some different ideas about what he wants to spend his time doing. I know he's a family. It'll be interesting to see who takes over for him.
I thought I could do something different, but I had to go back.
Like what? What different?
I don't know. I like stand-up. I did a lot of stand-up last year. I toured theaters all over.
Did you really? What was your opening joke?
I don't do a joke. I do stories. I just tell stories. But I might tell about Marlon Brando kissing me.
Yeah,
he kissed me, and I...
That's the sketch I did on SNL with John Travolta. He played Marlon Brando.
One of the great skits of all time. Yeah. I had no shoes. Remember that? That was a great skit.
Yeah.
Travolta did a great Brando.
He does.
All right, some things we play a game of if you only knew, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I just throw a question. First girl you ever kissed?
What about her?
Who was she and where was it?
It was on a hayride. And I was there with a couple buddies, and they had their girlfriends. It was a first date with this girl.
How old were you?
I was probably 14.
That's late
15.
for the first kiss.
I'm a late bloomer, Larry. You'd be surprised. And I was sitting next to her, and everybody's making out. Everybody's making out on the hayride, and I'm sitting next to her, and I'm nervous about going in for the kiss. And finally I said, I better do this. I better go in. And her name was Maureen. And I go to kiss her, and I had my eyes closed, and I kissed her right on her eye. And I didn't know it. I was kissing. I thought maybe she had like a little mustache or eyelash or mustache or something. And I'm like, and I could feel her eyelids going up and down.
Whatever happened to Maureen?
Well, she's blind now. But I guess she got married, and I think one of her daughters came to my show in San Francisco last year.
Nice.
And,
where was that, in Connecticut? Where were you from?
I was in Connecticut.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Well, I like being invisible.
Me too.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Because I'm a coward.
Most embarrassing moment?
Well, I think on SNL, the times that my parents came and sat right in the front row, one time I had to play a narcoleptic dancer. And I had to dance in front of them, you know, like with the cutoff shorts on and the belly, just gyrating and stuff. That was kind of embarrassing for me.
Yeah, I think that would work. What's your favorite curse word?
You know, I've had a curse. I don't curse that much, but I had a curse word growing up that I made up, and it was fotch.
Fotch, like fotch you?
Yeah, the long one was fotch marave. It was like an Italian word I made up. Fotch marave. It has a much more effective...
I like it.
Fotch marave.
Yeah. Something that makes you uncomfortable. All right.
Uncomfortable? Well, I think being caught in a lie is uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty.
And that happens all the time.
Best advice Lorne Michaels ever gave you?
He said to get a good, comfortable place in New York City when I moved there, because I mean, we're working hard, and you want to have a place to go back to. Spend all your money on the house, on the apartment.
Is that good advice?
That was good advice.
You have a weird habit.
And you know, I got a apartment down in the West Village. It was a 4-bedroom, 4-fireplace, for $4,000 a month at the time.
No kidding.
It was over the meat market area, and I loved it. Occasionally, when I go back to New York, I'll walk by there and I say, "Good job, thanks, Lauren."
How long were you on that show?
9 years.
Wow. What would you have any weird habits?
When I was a kid, I used to rock my feet a lot when I was sleeping, or before I was going to sleep. You know, I'd be on my belly. My heels would go back and forth like that.
Do you know why? No.
AFib.
Is there a TV show you're embarrassed to say you watch?
No.
No?
No. And there's just so many good TV shows on now.
Yeah, I know there are. Wow.
I'm not, I just don't have time to watch.
I like SpongeBob. Kevin will take your questions coming up next. SpongeBob is hip. We're back with Kevin Nealon. And don't forget, you can watch AOL and see Laugh Lessons with Kevin Nealon, teaching comics, teaching kids how to be comedians. Good idea. You're still doing stand-up, huh?
I do a lot of stand-up. Yeah, I just got back from Las Vegas.
What, at a hotel?
A casino there, the Suncoast Casino. It's fun. But, you know, as you know, Larry, Vegas has changed over the years. It's not what it used to be, especially probably when you went there with, you knew Sinatra and all those guys. But, now, there used to be maitre d's, the tuxedos, and, it was a big event to go to the showroom.
You had to dress up?
Now it's kids and, people in shorts and flip-flops and no
it's not
maitre
the
d's.
same.
They bring in like a couple of beers with them,
You change your act a lot?
I try to change it. I evolve, I'll do a special, and then you have to kind of change it after that.
So you use social media? Are you a Twitter?
I do. I Twitter a lot. Yep. I like social media. Mostly Twittering. I don't go on Facebook that much. And what was it? MySpace.
Yeah, what happened to that?
MySpace got evicted.
Did you have a lot of early disappointments?
I had a big disappointment. When I first came to Hollywood, I was here for a couple of years, and I got an audition at Paramount. And
For an actor?
For an acting job. And I had 5 callbacks. And
Wow.
the last callback, the producers looked at each other and they said, "We're not getting any closer than this." And I thought, perfect. This is my this town is my town. It's not that hard. People say it's hard, not for me. And I walked out of the studio and I thought, this is gonna be my home right here. I go home, a week goes by, I don't hear back. 2 weeks go by, I don't hear back. And then I hear they're going, they're looking at older guys for the role. They think they need to go older. And so they went with a guy named Ted Danson. It was Sam Malone for Cheers. And I thought,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Was he much older than you?
He was.
Really?
Enough older to get the part.
Wow. Did you think Cheers would be a hit when you were reading for the part?
Oh, I didn't know. It was at the time when I didn't get it, I thought this thing will never go.
Anything you would have done differently in your career?
I think I would have learned more about writing when I first got into career, about writing scripts for TV or for film. Because as a stand-up, it's really all I wanted to do. And then the acting kind of came secondary. But I wanted to be a stand-up, and I love guys like Steve Martin and Albert Brooks, Andy Kaufman. I love that unique, original kind of comedy. And then as I got to Hollywood, some people said, "You ever think about auditioning for a show? You're taking acting classes because somebody's going to come in and see your stand-up and want you to read for their sitcom." So I started taking acting classes, and it's one of those things. Be careful what you wish for, because even though I love stand-up comedy, I don't know if I want to be doing it in my 70s, and I don't want to be on the road, like in a hotel, with my kids, like in college or high school, or I'm missing stuff, It's like in my 40s, I said, I'm not going to be in my 50s and be on the road,
Yeah.
In my 50s, I said, I'm not going to be in my 60s. And
You like acting?
I do like acting. I like all of this. I like writing, I like acting, and that's why I feel so fortunate, because I get to do it all. I could write, written books, scripts, and stand-up, and I get to act in movies and TV.
You ever do serious parts?
I did an Outer Limits once.
Really?
Yeah.
A couple of questions on social media. Tarabia tweets, "What's your all-time favorite SNL sketch?"
That's a really tough one. People have asked me that before. There's so many. I don't know if she means that I was in or just
Well, any.
watch. I like I never broke character on that show. And I kind of prided myself on that. But I came close once in a Chris Farley sketch called the Chippendale Dancers sketch. Remember that? Oh, yeah. He was auditioning to be a Chippendale dancer next to Patrick Swayze, and I was one of the judges.
I remember that. That's a great sketch.
And every time I looked at him, he had the shirt off, and his belly's just jiggling, swishing back and forth, and he's trying to dance. And I couldn't. I figured the only way I could look at him is if I stared at his stretch marks. Kind of make designs in my head like I was a POW or something, And so that was one of my favorite sketches.
That was great.
Yeah.
Only One Valerie asks, what's your fondest memory of working with the late Jan Hooks?
Well, I met Jan about 7 years before SNL at an audition at Sony, and I was smitten with her. She was attractive, funny, smart. She's from the South, and she wasn't really interested in me, romantically. But we became friends, and we would go to happy hours together. And then she'd go off, to meet a date, and that's cool. I was happy to be her friend. And about 6 years into the relationship, we became romantic and we started dating. And a year after that, the SNL thing came around. She was up for it. Dana Carvey was up for it. Dana lived in an apartment when he was in LA over our garage. He rented an apartment in the Hollywood Hills. I was living with a couple other comics, and I was dating Jan Hooks. And Jan was up for the show too. And then I got on the show before Jan did. So Dana and I are on the show, and then Jan comes onto the show. And I was so attracted to her talent. I don't know if you've ever been with somebody that they're so talented, you just can't.
It overwhelms you.
It's overwhelming, yeah. And that was her, and it seemed to be effortless for her. I never saw her put a lot of work into her characters or sketches. And
when did she pass?
A couple months ago, yeah. And she had, and she said this herself. I'm not saying anything new, but she had intense stage fright. So it was very difficult for her to go on stage and do the amount of the incredible work that she did. So there were so many great sketches she did. She did a great one that they showed with Alec Baldwin in a diner, where he comes in and the sunglasses and the hat, and she's working behind the diner, and I'm at the diner with Phil Hartman and myself. We're two country bumpkins, and we love her. We love Jan, and she's really nice to us. But he comes in, Alec Baldwin, and he's this really kind of tough, smooth character, and they got this quip back and forth, that their language they could understand, and me and Phil were just, I'll have another one of those muffins, if you don't mind. And when I see that, it just,
sad.
It is sad.
Kevin, great seeing you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks to my guest, Kevin Nealon, one of the best. For details on his stand-up tour, you can go to kevinnealon.com and check out driveforklotz.com for more information on AFib. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.